It began without warning. No storm, no strange light, just silence. At 2:17 a.m., the Ravenwood police received a trembling call. "My brother is back, but he hasn't aged a day." Ethan Holloway had vanished 15 years ago while camping near the old railway tunnels. That night, he came home, barefoot, covered in dirt. Wearing the same torn hoodie he disappeared in. When officers arrived, Ethan just stood there on the porch, staring at them. His mother cried. His father froze. The police body cam caught everything. One of the officers whispered, "He looks exactly the same." But the footage captured something else. Ethan's eyes, when the flashlight hit them, reflected like an animal's. Doctors said he was fine. No dehydration, no scars, no memory of where he'd been. He only said, "I was lost, but now I'm home." That night, his parents insisted he sleep in his old room. By morning, the house was empty again. Only the body cam was found outside, in the wet grass, still recording. Its final frame showed Ethan standing in the field behind the house, staring into the lens, smiling. A smile that didn't belong to him. 2 weeks after Ethan's reappearance, it happened again. Different town, different person, same story. Lydia Mace went missing in 2010 while walking home from a late-night shift at the diner in Harrow Creek. She was 22 when she vanished. Her car found still running, headlights on, door open. At 3:08 a.m., her mother heard someone knocking on the door. When she opened it, Lydia was standing there. Same clothes, same face, same confused smile. She hadn't aged a day. Sheriff Collins' report described Lydia as calm but distant. When asked where she had been all these years, she said softly, "I followed the light, but it wasn't the sky." Then she added, almost whispering, "They said I could come home now." The following morning, Harrow Creek residents gathered outside the Mace house, trying to catch a glimpse of her. But the blinds were shut. Later that night, strange sounds echoed from the woods behind the house. Low humming, like machinery underground. Deputies who went to investigate found something buried beneath the soil. A set of tire marks, leading nowhere. And beside them, a small wooden box, freshly dug up. Inside the box was a camera, still recording. The footage showed Lydia standing in front of the lens, eyes wide, expression blank. Behind her, dark silhouettes flickered in the trees. One of them whispered, "Two down, more to come." The recording stopped at 3:33 a.m. That was the same time the power went out across Harrow Creek, 3 days after Lydia's camera was found. The footage went public. At first, people thought it was fake. A cruel joke, another viral stunt. But then, the faces in the background. People started recognizing them. Old missing posters, names from different towns. All of them vanished years ago. And there they were, standing behind her. Silent, motionless, eyes fixed on the lens. The authorities froze the footage, frame by frame. In one scene, you could see the trees bending, not from the wind, but as if something huge was moving between them. Then came the sound, low, almost human, a breathing that didn't match anyone in the video. A whisper beneath the static, "Don't let them see you change." By the next night, 2 more disappearances were reported. A journalist from the local paper, and a police technician, who had handled the footage. Their houses were left untouched, doors open, food still warm on the table. But from one of the rooms, came the faint hum of a recording light, blinking red. And on the tape they left behind, only one line of dialogue was heard. "They're not coming back. We are." Her name was Julia Crane, a journalist known for chasing the dark stories no one else would touch. She was the first to visit both the Holloway house and Harrow Creek after the disappearances. But what she found never made it to print. Julia's notebook was discovered in her car, parked on the outskirts of town. The driver's door was open, engine still running, and the headlights pointed toward the woods. On the seat beside her bag was a single torn page, soaked with rain. It read, "They watch through the trees. They mimic the lost ones first, the ones people will welcome. That's how they get in." The rest of the pages were filled with frantic handwriting. Descriptions of figures seen moving at the edge of the light. Reports of whispers in the static of police radios. And sketches, detailed drawings of faces, half human, half something else. On the last page, Julia had scribbled one final line in thick ink. "Their reflections come back first. The bodies follow later." No one ever found Julia, but her camera was recovered 3 days later, lodged in a tree trunk deep in the forest. The footage was corrupted. except for the final 30 seconds. It showed Julia turning the camera on herself, whispering shakily, "If you see someone you love, don't let them in." Then a flash of movement behind her. A hand, not quite human, reaching from the darkness. In silence, 3 miles from Harrow Creek lies Blackridge Lake, a place once used for fishing, now fenced off after a string of drownings in the late 90s. Locals said the water never froze, even in the coldest winters. One misty morning, a fisherman reported seeing movement on the lake's surface. At first, he thought it was debris, but then a hand broke through the water, pale, trembling, alive. Rescue teams arrived and pulled out a man in his 30s. He wasn't on any missing person list, but his fingerprints matched a man named Caleb North, declared dead 17 years earlier. Caleb was silent for hours, sitting wrapped in a blanket. His lips blue, eyes vacant. When the sheriff asked him what happened, Caleb whispered, "They're still down there. They didn't let me go. I escaped." He refused medical help. He said hospitals had mirrors in every corner. That night, under surveillance at a nearby cabin, Caleb began speaking to someone unseen, apologizing, pleading, then laughing. When deputies checked on him, the chair was empty. The window shattered from the inside. Footprints led straight to the lake and stopped at the water's edge. Divers searched for 2 days, but found nothing. Only his blanket, floating near the dock, and the sound of soft ripples, though the air was still. Later that week, a camper by the lake captured a short video. In the reflection of the moonlit water, you could see dozens of faces, pressing against the surface, trying to breathe. It started at Ravenwood Elementary. A new substitute teacher appeared one Monday morning, Ms. Dalton. Nobody had seen her arrive, but she was already in the classroom when the janitor unlocked the door. She introduced herself to the students, calm and polite. Yet something about her voice made the kids uneasy. Flat, delayed, like each word was being repeated from memory. One of the students, Emily, raised her hand and asked, "Miss, why do your eyes move before your face does?" The teacher only smiled. That afternoon, the principal checked her file. No record of a Ms. Dalton in the district. No application. No background check. And the name belonged to a teacher who had vanished in 1999. Security footage showed Ms. Dalton leaving the classroom that day, carrying a small black bag. She waved to the children through the window, and they waved back. But in the reflection of the glass, she wasn't smiling. Her mouth wasn't moving at all. When the police searched the classroom, they found the black bag under a desk. Inside were drawings made by the students. Every picture showed the same thing: the class standing in a circle around their teacher. And behind her, something tall, its hands resting on her shoulders, its face hidden in the dark. The children were questioned, but none of them remembered that day, except for one, who said quietly, "She told us she'd be back tomorrow." She never came back. But 3 days later, the real Ms. Dalton's ID card was found, hanging from a tree outside the school gate. Ravenwood had grown restless. Doors were locked, windows nailed shut, and yet people swore they heard knocking, always at 3 a.m. Sheriff Collins began receiving calls from residents claiming someone was standing on their lawns at night, not moving, not speaking, just staring. One of the callers, an elderly woman named Mrs. Henson, lived alone on the edge of town. Her call came in frantic. "He's here again. He's wearing my husband's clothes." Her husband had died 10 years earlier. When deputies arrived, her front door was open. The phone was still dangling from the cord, and the house smelled faintly of lake water. Upstairs, they found muddy footprints leading to the bedroom window. Outside, in the yard, there was only one clear track: bare feet, small and child-sized. Security cameras from a nearby house caught a short clip that night. A figure standing in Mrs. Henson's driveway. It didn't move for 6 minutes straight. Then, as the lights flickered, it turned to the camera. The face was wrong, like a blurred photograph trying to become clear but never finishing. Its eyes glowed white, and as it opened its mouth, a low hum filled the speakers. The timestamp on the footage glitched. 3 a.m., then 3 a.m. again, and again. By sunrise, Mrs. Henson was gone. Her bed was perfectly made, her Bible open on the nightstand, and on the window glass, a single word drawn in the condensation: returned. 3 days after Mrs. Henson vanished, a brown package arrived at the Ravenwood Police Department. No return address, no postage, just a label written in faded ink: "Play me." Inside was an old cassette tape, wrapped in a strip of damp cloth. The tape was marked 2008, Holloway, the same year Ethan disappeared. When the sheriff's deputy played it, a burst of static filled the room, then faint breathing, like someone holding the recorder close to their mouth. A man's voice whispered. They told me to listen, said I'd hear them before I saw them. More static. Then a new voice joined in. It was identical, same tone, same pitch, but overlapping slightly, like an echo that arrived too early. The first voice said, "They're not copies. They're practice." Then a sharp gasp, and the sound of rushing wind, as if the recorder had been dropped. Near the end of the tape, something mechanical started humming. Steady, rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat played backwards. Then came a whisper, right against the mic. "Ethan's home. We're all coming home." When the recording ended, the deputy noticed condensation forming on the desk. The air felt colder, and on the inside of the tape's plastic case, a fingerprint appeared, wet and fresh. It matched Ethan Holloway. When the police went to Ethan Holloway's old house, the place was barely standing, a forgotten shell at the edge of Ravenwood. No one had lived there since the family disappeared in 2008. The door creaked open with a push, dust hanging in the air like fog. Old toys were scattered on the living room floor, still arranged in a perfect circle. Officer Mason noticed something strange. Every clock in the house had stopped at 3:17 a.m., the exact time Ethan's father had reported him missing. They found a locked door under the staircase. It wasn't on any blueprint. Behind it, a narrow stairway led down into the basement, a space carved out of raw earth. The deeper they went, the colder the air became, and on the dirt walls, drawings covered every inch, crude charcoal sketches of faces, hundreds of them, each one identical, each one staring straight ahead. In the center of the basement stood a small wooden chair, and on it, an old camcorder. The red light was blinking. Recording. Mason picked it up and hit play. The footage showed the same basement, but filmed from a different angle. And in the corner of that video, someone was standing behind the camera. The figure smiled, lifted its hand, and pointed directly toward Mason's lens. Then the recording ended, and the camcorder screen went black, showing only Mason's reflection. But behind him, a second reflection was smiling too. Officer Mason froze. For a long second, he couldn't breathe. The reflection in the camcorder screen wasn't mimicking him anymore. It was moving on its own. He turned around. Nothing. Only the silent basement, the dirt walls, and the faint hum of the camera. But when he looked back at the screen, the figure was still there, standing just behind him, smiling wider than before. Then the basement lights flickered. The camcorder shut off by itself. When Mason tried to turn it on again, the display showed a single word written across the static. "Stay." He dropped the camera and backed toward the stairs, but his radio crackled to life. It was the dispatcher's voice, faint and distorted. "Mason, we see you on the feed. Who's with you?" His heart pounded. "There's no one here," he whispered. Silence. Then the dispatcher said, "Then who just smiled at the camera?" The basement light exploded with a pop, and everything went dark. When the backup team arrived 15 minutes later, they found Mason unconscious near the stairs, his uniform damp with condensation. The camcorder was still recording. The video showed Mason lying on the ground, but next to him, another Mason stood perfectly still, staring directly into the lens. The second one blinked first. When Officer Mason woke up, the world around him felt wrong. The air was heavier, as if the walls themselves were breathing. His body ached, but it wasn't from the fall. It was as though something had pressed against his skin, like fingers tracing his pulse. He stumbled upstairs and out of the house. The morning light should have felt warm. Instead, it stung his eyes. Colors seemed slightly off, too bright and too dark at the same time. At the station, his partner looked at him strangely. "Mason," he said carefully, "you already checked in this morning." Mason froze. "What?" "Yeah," his partner continued. "You came in at 6, signed the logbook, and left again. Said you were heading back to the house." Mason looked at the clock. It was only 6:42 a.m. He'd just woken up there minutes ago. He rushed to the surveillance room, demanding the feed. And there, on the screen, was him, walking out of the station, face blank, movements slow, almost mechanical. But it wasn't him. He knew it. There was something wrong with the eyes. They didn't blink. They didn't move. They just stared straight into the camera lens, as if they knew he'd be watching. His partner whispered, "Mason, what the hell's going on?" Mason didn't answer. He could feel it again. That cold pressure on his back, a breath close to his ear, and then a voice, low and familiar, whispered, "Only one of us gets to stay." Officer Mason didn't go home that night. He drove straight to the motel on the edge of town. Room 19, the one with no working security cameras. He locked the door, shut the blinds, and placed the camcorder on the dresser facing him. If there was another version of him out there, he wanted to see what it wanted. Hours passed. The only sound was the ticking of the wall clock and his own uneven breathing. Then a knock. 3 slow knocks, each one heavier than the last. "Mason," a voice called. His voice, but softer, warmer, like an echo from a dream. He gripped his gun. "Who are you?" "I'm you," the voice replied through the door. "I came back. You didn't." Mason's heart pounded in his throat. He checked the camcorder's viewfinder. Nothing outside the window. No shadow under the door. Then the doorknob started to turn. Slowly, as if testing his reaction. Metal creaked. "Mason," the voice said again. "You shouldn't have watched the footage." He stepped closer to the door, gun raised. And then, on the camcorder's screen, a second Mason appeared behind him, standing in the corner, smiling. The real Mason spun around. Nothing. Just the dark corner of the motel room. He turned back toward the camera, and the reflection on the screen smiled again, even though he hadn't moved. Then the recording stopped on its own, and from somewhere inside the static, a whisper crawled out. "You can't hide from yourself anymore." The motel room was silent. The camcorder light flickered once, and then stayed on. Mason stared at his reflection in the black TV screen. It was still smiling. He backed away, his gun trembling in his hands. "What do you want?" he whispered. The reflection tilted its head, a perfect mirror of his movement, until it didn't. It stepped forward. The TV screen rippled like water. Mason stumbled backward, eyes wide. A pale hand pressed against the glass from inside, followed by another. He dropped the gun. It wasn't a reflection anymore. It was him, the other Mason, pulling itself free from the screen, skin shimmering under the fluorescent light. "Don't," Mason warned, voice shaking, but the double just smiled wider. Eyes black, veins crawling beneath translucent skin. "I'm the one they sent back," it said softly. "You were never supposed to leave that basement." Mason lunged for the door, but the handle wouldn't move. Every knock, every voice from the hallway, sounded like his own. The double stepped closer. "You've been breathing my air," it whispered, "living my hours. It's time to trade places." Mason screamed and smashed the camcorder against the floor. The screen cracked, but instead of shattering, it bled static light. And through that static, he saw the woods again, the camera in the dirt, the missing people standing behind the trees, waiting. Then everything went black. Only the sound of breathing remained. But no one in the room was breathing anymore. The next morning, Officer Mason reported back to duty. Uniform crisp, smile steady, voice calm, to everyone at the station. He seemed fine, almost too fine. He spoke softer, walked slower, and stared just a bit too long at the reflection in the hallway mirrors. When his partner joked about the motel incident, Mason simply said, "It's better now. The other one's gone." But that night, the real Mason, the first Mason, woke up somewhere cold and damp. He wasn't in the motel anymore. He was underground. A single light buzzed above him. The walls were pulsing, alive, like veins beneath skin. He screamed for help, but his voice came back doubled. 2 echoes, one just slightly delayed. In the distance, he could hear other voices, familiar ones, calling his name. The missing people, they were down there too, trapped in the hollow between worlds, their bodies still moving, their minds fractured like broken mirrors. Meanwhile, above ground, the new Mason sat alone in his patrol car. He looked into the dash mirror, smiled faintly, and whispered, "He's awake." The radio crackled softly, and through the static came a voice, his own voice, pleading from the darkness. "Don't let them keep me here." Mason turned the volume down. Outside, the streetlights flickered one by one. He looked up at the night sky and murmured, "They all come back, but not the same." The town of Marrow Creek didn't notice the change at first. People still went to work. Kids still played in the streets. Everything looked normal on the surface, but it started small. Subtle things. Neighbors waving at you twice from opposite sides of the road. A woman buying groceries, and then watching herself drive away from the parking lot. Officer Mason, or what was now wearing him, kept his patrol routes the same. Every night, He'd stop by a different house. Every morning, someone else would vanish. No struggle, no trace, just a strange, damp patch left near the mirrors, and the faint smell of earth. By the end of the week, 5 more people had returned. Their families swore something was off. The way they spoke, the way they smiled without blinking. When one of the deputies confronted Mason, asking if the disappearances were connected to the old footage, Mason placed a hand on his shoulder and whispered, "It's already inside you." Hours later, that deputy was found wandering near the forest line, barefoot and humming a tune no one recognized. He didn't remember his name, but he remembered the voice. In the basement of the police station, the camcorder played on a loop. Every time the footage ended, the number of figures in the background increased. And now, one of them looked straight into the lens. Mason's face, grinning, as if waiting for the viewer to blink. The footage was never supposed to be released again, but 2 months later, it surfaced on a private horror forum, uploaded by an anonymous user. The file was named final_log.mov. Only 6 people claimed to have watched it. 3 of them went missing within a week. The video begins with Mason sitting in his patrol car. He's talking directly into the camera now. "If you're watching this," he says, "you've already seen them." His voice is calm, but the reflection in the windshield doesn't match his lips. It's whispering something else. Behind him, through the glass, shapes move in the fog, dozens of them. Faces pale, eyes hollow. All of them the same. All of them him. The screen flickers, then cuts to the basement again. Only now it's full. Every inch covered with people standing perfectly still, breathing in unison. A final whisper crawls through the static. Every time you watch, we get closer. Then the feed cuts to black. But if you turn up the volume, if you listen carefully in the last 2 seconds, you can still hear the sound of a camcorder clicking on again. A faint voice follows, distant, trembling, terrified. "Please, don't press play."